Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. The channel is basically about travels, places and seeing different things. Could be local travel, could be other people's travels. Now what we're going to look at here today is just footage from a bike ride. It's along a route that I'm pretty familiar with, so I'm just going to add some commentary as the ride goes along. I might point out some various things. You'll get an idea of what traffic can be like around Sydney in an afternoon. So the ride starts off here. This is in the southern area of Sydney, out in the Sutherland area, and if you continue watching till the end, it continues through the south to the southwest, to the far southwest, and then it ends up crossing over Razorback at night, which is out near Camden. So yeah, just sit back, hope you enjoy, and I'll just add anything as we go. A lot of it will be self-explanatory, so I probably don't need to say much. So this part of the ride, I believe, started down near Cronulla. So this is up a little closer to the Prince's Highway. This highway actually will continue down south. If you follow the highway, it'll go to Wollongong and down the south coast. But this ride's not going to go that way. A little further along, it'll veer off to the right rather than following the highway. And it'll go down an area, if you're familiar with southern Sydney, part of what's part of the Georges River, and it's the Woronora River. There's a new, well, when I say new, relatively new bridge there. I still remember before the bridge, and it used to take quite a bit of driving to get across. Now I'll wait and comment a little bit further on about that. You'll see there's a lot of new units now there on the left. Now they're not that close either to the station. That's a bit of a walk there to get to. Oh, there's another station probably. Yeah, it's a walk to Sutherland, which is ahead of us here. Now we're coming up to the part pretty close. Yeah, now the actual highway goes left, so we're going to follow this ride as it goes and veers off the highway. I forgot to get the information on what day this ride actually was on. From the look of the sun and the afternoon, it looks like it's probably a weekend. A weekday would be a lot busier on this road, I imagine. So those cars turning at the moment, they're coming from that Prince's Highway, which goes south, so they're heading northbound. and this actual area here is what you would call Sutherland itself. Now I'll tell you a little bit about the bike, what I know. It's a little moped, motorbike, scooter. It's petrol powered. Quite handy for getting around the city. One of the reasons they're good in the city is because they've got a CVT transmission, so you're not changing gears constantly. You can imagine in this type of environment, stop start, changing gears and using a clutch gets old really quick. Anyway, this bridge, I believe, is the one that's crossing over the railway line at Sutherland. So for Sutherland itself, the centre is on the left. The Woronora River is off towards the right. You might have seen that sign there. To the right is Menai and Bankstown. If you go straight ahead there on the left, and straight ahead is the old cemetery. This here is heading down to the Woronora River and the bridge. Off to the right is a place called Bonnet Bay. And we're just about to approach this bridge that I was talking about, and it's relatively new. It used to take on the old road, because there is another bridge down the bottom, but it used to take around 15 minutes to get from one side to the other. So from here, the old road is on the right hand side there, and it sort of zigzags down to the bottom where there's a bridge, and you'll see that literally what takes about a minute now used to take a good 10 minutes to 15 minutes, depending on if there was any traffic. And that's the end of the bridge there, so we've just crossed in that short period. So yeah, this is coming up to, this is still the Sutherland Shire here. This is coming up to Bangor, Illawong, then Menai. So you can go off to the left there if you want to go to some of those suburbs. Whereas this road will continue and bypass all the suburbs and take you over to pretty much over to Menai. This road was put in around the same time that that bridge was done, and it's quite good. But you can imagine, like I said, this is looks like weekend traffic to me. So it won't be like this on an afternoon during the week. It would be a lot busier. One thing that I've noticed so far is most of the cars have been pretty well behaved. No one's cut the rider off or anything that I've noticed so far. I don't know if you've ever ridden a bike on the road or not, but you'll be aware that many drivers in cars either don't pay any attention to bikes, or they just simply don't see them. In some areas of Sydney, you have to be much more wary than others. A lot of people know if they're in their big four-wheel drive that you pose no threat to them, and they won't stop for you even when they're supposed to. Alright, now that this section there, the right hand side heads towards the Bankstown area, and this road heads towards Menai and towards Liverpool. Heads towards Menai first and then off towards Liverpool. This is it heading in a south direction again. Not sure why the lights changed there. Nobody, as you saw, well, I didn't notice anyone go through the intersection. Anyway, he's off again. Ah, there we go. There's the first one. A lovely taxi driver. Cutting it very close. And it's a well, supposed to be like a more prestige cab, but obviously not such a prestige driver. If a new learner rider was in that position just then, they could potentially panic. This is what some drivers don't realise. When you're sitting in a car, things seem like they're distant, or they're not dangerous at all. Anyone who's ridden a bike, even if it's a push bike, will know that when a car comes that close to you, especially if you're moving at speed, it can be quite unnerving. So yeah, car drivers should be aware of that. That probably wouldn't bother someone in another car, but especially if you notice someone's on L's or P's on a bike, give them a bit more space than that. There was no need for that guy to rush in there. Okay, now you see the road's changed. It's back down to what would have been the original single lane road pretty much. They've widened it a little bit, but this road has been there for a long time. On the left is the nuclear facility where they do medicine and testing and things. On the right, or that area towards the right, used to be a very large garbage disposal area. I'm not sure whether it still is or not. I haven't had a good close look there for a while. So yeah, that's actually Menai. So we're out of that area now. This is still part of the Sutherland Shire here, which is quite a big area. We're going to come down to an intersection soon, and that intersection, if you take the road to the left, it will take you back towards Heathcote, and if you take the road to the right, it goes towards Sydney's southwestern area of Liverpool, which you just would have seen maybe that sign. So Heathcote and Wollongong to the left. So if you've come from Bankstown, you would come down and go to the left to go towards Wollongong, and you would turn to the right if you're going to Liverpool. And there's the sign. So Heathcote Road, the old Heathcote Road. Both of these roads have been around for a long time. They have slightly improved them, but not that much. When I was younger, this was a quite isolated part of Sydney. It no longer is isolated. There's big communities either side of this area. There's still a lot of bushland there. A lot of it's owned by the government's defence area. Like I said, there's nuclear facilities for medicine, garbage disposal, which they can't build on that, I don't believe, for a certain amount of time at least. Anyway, we can see the sun is lower in the sky too, so it's definitely later in the afternoon. You can see that they have changed this road. It's got double lanes going one way now. So this is going to take a little while here. Probably not much to comment on. This, I think that sign that we just passed said 19 kilometres to Liverpool, so it's a 90k. Okay, this area used to be 100. It's back to 90, it says. You like the signs, stop, revive, survive, but there's nowhere to stop. You can't legally stop on the left hand side there, although there's a stopping area. There you go. Actually that looks like an inspection area, not an actual rest area. So they've added that in there. I've noticed that they're adding those things around various places, but they don't widen the road, but they add things so that they can do inspections and probably fine people for having too much load on their trucks, I guess. Anyway, this would be quite a nice ride along here. The road, from memory, the road surface is quite decent. The area that this person's going to is in the very southwest of Sydney, or very southern Sydney, the outskirts. You can access it by a motorway, which he could have turned the other way back towards Bankstown earlier, and get onto the motorway. And I think probably they've avoided that purely because it's 110 km/h motorway. While a lot of these smaller motorbikes will do that speed if they're pushed, it's not comfortable, and a lot of the times on motorways people will sit on your tail and try and push you. Also, obviously there's a lot more trucks, and a lot of people don't follow the rules, they don't stay left, and you'll see people making, sudden lane changes and things on motorways. So they've probably chosen this route to avoid all that, and to avoid pushing the bike and themselves. And it's more scenic if you like looking at trees rather than just a motorway and cars. Although the camera view is not overly scenic. If we assume that the car in front is doing the 90 km speed limit, then the scooter is having no problem sitting on that and following along, as you can see. I think that sign just said 80, I'm not sure. Or it might have been 100. A little bit hard to tell. Yeah, it's gonna... looks like it's gonna slow down here. Yeah, definitely 80. So that sign back there was 80 ahead, and now it's at 80. I'm not sure why it's 80 here, but a little further down it does start to go into some other suburbs that are before you hit Liverpool. Like I said, off to the left is a lot of defence or Commonwealth property, and you've got Holsworthy just down here on the left. A lot of that area there is Defence Force staff. You can't see it here, but on the left is like a gorge. There's some more parts of the rivers which are crossing over there. That's a bridge. There's still a lot of natural habitat surrounding or as part of Sydney. Now I think that when we crossed over that bridge, that was the end of the Sutherland Shire, and this is now the Liverpool Shire. So Liverpool's actually a small city, but it's a small city within Sydney, but it's also a large council or shire area, LGA. And that bridge, where that bridge was, the river is the border. If you're interested in things to know about Sydney. There you go, there's some traffic. It says 80 k's an hour. There's you'll be lucky if you can do 5 here. The whole south and southwest of Sydney has just grown astronomically, yet a lot of the roads are the same. They've been the same for so many decades. So they were busy decades and decades ago, so now they're just busier and busier. This is where this is a lot closer to Liverpool here. There's some more suburbs on the left, and on the right it's all very highly built up residential area, mainly houses, not apartments. The only closest rail stations, there's one back at Holsworthy and there's another one at Liverpool, but they're two different lines. So anywhere around this area here it's not easy to get to public transport, so there's not many high-rise. Anyway, off we go again, and I think here, let's see which way. Okay, no, on the left, towards the left is the motorway, so they're avoiding the motorway still. So that motorway is the same one I was talking about before. So they're going to go up and over and go through Liverpool itself. So that bridge just crossed the motorway, which is called the M5 in Sydney. Just down here is like an industrial area, just next to Liverpool. It's part of Liverpool. You'd call this Liverpool here, or it might have a different suburb name, but it's very close to Liverpool. There's probably not going to be much exciting happening here. A little bit further down, the road's going to veer to the right, and then to the left, which is going to go again over the river and over the railway lines at Liverpool. And it's going to go right. He's going to pass by Liverpool here. A lot of birds there on the left. Things like that, when you're in a car, you don't pay any attention to, but a flock of birds like that, those large birds, if one of them takes off and hits you in the chest or in the head, while it may not be very nice for the bird, it's not nice for you either, I can tell you. These are the things, this is why motorbike riders, he's going to turn right here and then immediately left. Yeah, but this is why motorbike riders are probably a lot more aware than many car drivers. If somebody's only ever driven a car, it's completely different when you're out on a bike. You're much more aware of what's around you and what's going on. That's not to say that all car drivers aren't aware. Probably a lot of them are very aware as well. But there's a significant number that also are not aware of anything. It's like once they're in and close the door and they've got the music on, they feel safe from the outside for some reason. Anyway, up over a bridge here, like I said, you can see some apartment buildings up here. This is Liverpool. So the main part of Liverpool is off to the right hand side where those apartments and buildings are. Where this is crossing over the river, which is also part of the Georges River that will go out to Botany Bay. It's crossing over the river and the rail system. So the rail system here, Liverpool station, is down to the right hand side there, and that rail line goes and meets up over Granville Way. So you can go from that area and travel across to the Holsworthy area on this line. So this line crosses between those lines. It also goes out towards Glenfield and Campbelltown. It terminates, I think, at Glenfield. So you get off, and if you want to get a train to another part of Sydney, you get off around Glenfield usually. So if you wanted to go in the middle of Liverpool, you would have turned left there, and you go under the bridge, and most of what you would call Liverpool, like the shopping area and whatever, is off to the right hand side here. The residential area of Liverpool is expanded, so there's a lot of residential, even apartments, off to the left and to the right, and you can see straight ahead as well some of those big towers there. I can't remember how high this tower, but there's a set of towers up here. It took them quite a while to build them, but I can't remember. It's over 30 stories. I can't remember exactly. You can look it up if that sort of thing interests you. It took them quite a while to get them finished, I know that. These ones on the left. I think they're the two tallest buildings in that area. Although looks like they built another one in front of us as well. So there's two towers on the left here, and it looks like they've built on the opposite corner now. They've built another, looks like a fairly significant tower. I don't quite know why they've got these huge towers in those particular areas, because it's quite a walk to the station. Anyway. While we're sitting here, I suppose I shouldn't talk too much about Sydney's planning, but in those units, in those large apartments, you're going to have a car, because the shopping, one of the main, it's all off to the right hand side as we sit here, but there's a Westfields down there. But imagine trying to carry a load of, drinks or something. There's no way you can walk it. Even just pushing a trolley, even if you're allowed to take the trolley that far, which I don't think you are, Even pushing a trolley would be ridiculous. That means all of these people have to have a car. And I bet you the way they've built these apartments, they'll all be a shared garage underneath, like a shared area. So you don't have your own power point or whatever. So you can't have an electric car or anything. So you need a normal petrol car. There's, like I said, there's no train station right next to them or anything. It's quite puzzling. There you go. There's another car driver who's not paying attention, or doesn't care, one or the other. But he just pulled in there. There was no need for that. Look, he had plenty of space. He could have changed lanes a lot earlier. I would have done the same thing as what was just done then. I would have changed lanes and got away from that person. Okay, yeah, more of, if you could go to Liverpool by turning right down there as well. That was, I believe that was no, it's not. Can't remember. I won't say because I can't remember what road that is. But you can go towards Bankstown that way. You'll get onto the Hume Highway if you follow that road. So this is all just suburb of Liverpool. You know, there's residential housing on the left and right. Again on the left there is an on-ramp to that motorway that I was talking about. If they had have gone onto the motorway, which we're crossing again now, would have passed that like within about 30 seconds. That's how quick he would have been in that area. But I know what they're doing here. They're heading towards there's a hotel up here called the Crossroads. We call it the Crossroads. And again, you'll be left with a choice. The road splits into a Y. So you go towards the left to get back to the motorway, or if you take the right, you're heading in a similar area, but you're heading towards where the old Oran Park motorway used to be, or you're heading that way. It's just more of Sydney's southwestern suburbs. This is really the true southwest. So I would call Bankstown, they call that Bankstown the southwest as well, but that's really like the mid-southwest or inner southwest. This is the real southwest here and further down. And actually this whole area's, all of these areas are actually not too bad. Depends where you've got to go to, what you need access to, but I've lived out near these areas as well as in Sutherland, multiple places in Sutherland. I've lived in all different places in Sydney, and this area was quite convenient when I was out near here. Just depends, like I said, where you've got to drive to, but it's sort of central, whether you've got to go north, west, south. Getting to the eastern suburbs of Sydney from here is a bit of a pest. Anyway, they're continuing up, and this crossroads that I'm talking about is coming up a bit further. Sun's starting to set by the look of it. You can see the sign up here. That's showing you what your options are. So left back down to the motorway, right to the other suburbs in the southwest. And the sun is setting. Obviously now is heading directly west. It's not ideal conditions to be navigating all this traffic with that sun in front of you, although it's not so, it doesn't look so bad from this perspective. It's one of those times of the day when you're riding a bike where it's like you still need the sunglasses a lot of the time, but then again there's enough the light is dimmed enough that with the sunglasses on it can be too much. And what happens is you'll be in an area like this where there's a bit of shade, or the sun's not hitting your eyes directly, and you might drive or go down the road a touch further, and next thing it's right in your eyes again. So if you've taken them off, then you're squinting even more, and when you've got to pay attention to stop-start traffic, that's not ideal. Yeah, to give you an idea, like on a bike, while other people changing lanes or braking heavily or doing things that they don't indicate or that are sudden, while all that's a problem, also if you run into somebody because you're not paying attention, that is a problem too, so you can hurt yourself like that. Like I was saying earlier, riding a bike is different to being in a car. Like to give you an idea, in an instance like this, I would be watching very closely at who's next to me or behind me, so that I know if for some reason that car in front decides to, well, you see he changed lanes, started changing before he put his indicator on. That's either way, it was a sudden change. But if he had have braked heavily for no reason, like some people Some people in cars will brake heavily, leaving 30 meters in traffic to the next car. Like there's no way they're going to hit somebody, but they'll brake heavily for no reason. I like to be ready to know that I can change the lane straight away if I have to. So I'm always aware of what's next to me and what's behind me. That's the other thing. If somebody brakes heavily in front of you, you don't want to be just braking heavily as well. Not just because you could potentially lose traction on a tire or whatever, but the person behind you may not be watching closely what's happening. And again, in a car you feel safe, but if you stop close to that car in front and then the one behind you runs into you, you're basically the ham in the sandwich, which you want to try and avoid. Anyway, a quick refuel. The sky's looking quite pretty in that angle. After a refuel, just back onto the road and continue. Not much to remark on here. Now you see the way they just moved up next to the car or slightly in front. That's a good idea too, even when you're travelling on these type of roads. Don't sit next to a car's blind spot. Get up and get in front of them into their area of vision, so they know you're there, they don't forget, or they don't think you've disappeared. If you sit in their blind spot, that's asking for trouble. So yeah, just on that note, while there's nothing much happening here, you want to be either in front of the car that's in the lane next to you, or get behind them. Don't sit directly next to them, and don't sit in that position there. Like, you wouldn't stay in that position there. That's their blind spot. They can't see you, they could change lanes on you. That's it, let them go. They should be able to see you in that position. So that's something to think of also when you're going along, and that applies to every road. Of course, you can't do it in gridlock traffic, that's not possible. But always try and think about that other person's vision. Now, they should be aware of you, but you should assume that they're not. So it's better to help them see you. Make sure you're in a position where they can see you, rather than assuming that they will see you or that they have a duty to see you, because it's no good being right but being dead or injured. Anyway, I'd say that car, I was going to say, I bet you he's still sitting there. and this is what some car drivers will do this. Their speed is up and down, up and down. You don't know why. They're in the outside lane in an 80k zone where that person could easily sit in the left hand side, and their speed varies constantly up and down because they're probably not paying attention. And if they're not paying attention enough to sit at a constant speed when there's nothing around them, and they're sitting in the outside lane not overtaking, I think it's fair to assume that they're not paying attention to you at all. So protect yourself. Yeah. It's not much to talk about with the scenery or anything else. Actually, the drivers have all been pretty reasonable on this ride. That's something else. Seeing we're talking about that, might as well, for some of you might be thinking about getting a bike license, or you might be new to riding or not that experienced. Same thing from the lights. Try and keep in front of them. Obviously, if a car wants to drive fast or at or over the speed limit, let them go. You can let them go, but try and pace it. You're probably better off to be out in front of them and to get away from them a little bit. Separate yourself from the traffic that's behind you and next to you, and then, like what's just happened then, once you're up and moving and you're at the, at or near the speed limit, if they want to pass, then that's fine. It just gives you more options if something goes wrong, to protect yourself. It's getting darker now and the street lights are on. Just trying to work out where exactly they're up to at this point. This is heading towards Narellan this way. There's a lot of new suburbs out in these areas. You might have noticed that quite often the bike's sitting off to the left or to the right of cars when it's stopped. Legally, they could go down and lane split there, go between the cars if they wanted to. But staying off to the end, again, if somebody were to hit you from the rear, at least your bike and you can move forward of that car in front of you rather than becoming the crumple zone. It's not a bad habit. I think this is the Gregory Hills area. It's getting closer to Camden now. You can see it's darker. Definitely by the time it gets to Razorback, it will be significantly darker. Okay, so it's going to go down towards Campbelltown here, only for a short, about 800 meters or so. Straight ahead is Camden, but rather than following this traffic and going through Camden itself, there's a bypass just down here, so you head towards Campbelltown on Narellan Road here. He should stay in this lane here. The traffic's already banked up, it looks like. But down further, there's you'll see a bridge, and that's where there's a right-hand turn, and that's the Camden bypass. Okay, so he's on the bypass now, so you can see how much darker it's got within a matter of minutes. It's quite a quick stretch of road. I think this sign will say 100 here. No, it's not the speed, but I think it's 100 in this particular section. Looks like the cars are maybe doing over that, or he may be doing under that. So yeah, rather than going through the 50k an hour area with stop-start traffic, this is a better option. Cut out quite a few minutes from the trip. It's also much better to ride in on this type of road in these type of conditions, apart from the lack of light, than it is to be doing stop-start all the time. There's a couple of new housing estates both on the right and the left here where this set of lights is. Continue on the bypass. Nice sunset. And Camden itself is sort of off to the right at the sort of 3 o'clock mark. This bridge is going over an area which is flood prone, so it's quite a long bridge. It's not that high above the ground, but underneath here they grow vegetables and things because it does flood, so there's no houses underneath there. Okay, so this is the start of the Razorback. Climbing up from the Campbelltown side, so this is all uphill and becomes quite windy. It's not ideal to be riding at night over here. I'd suggest that people probably avoid that unless you have a need, especially at this time of day. And this is when a lot of critters come out, and the last thing you want is something like a wallaby coming over to say hello as you try and make your way up the road. In some areas there you might see some rocks too on the left, or you might have, but there's an area up here which is quite often having slip, and the rocks will come down. And they've been doing quite a bit of work on that section of the road for a long time, actually, for as long as probably, I try and avoid this road myself, but they had this left lane closed just up ahead for must have been years. And the road's not the best, you can probably see, and there's a bit of bouncing around going on there. You know, there, look, there's rock there you can see on the left, and rural landscape up here. This time of day, yes, wallabies, kangaroos are active. It's not a good time to be riding or driving. Anyway, I think this will just continue till the other side of Razorback. I don't think there's anything else to comment on, so I'll just say, if you watched this far, I hope you liked some of it, and if you've got any questions, you can feel free to put them down below. If I can answer, I will. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll leave it there and catch you later. Thanks for watching.